when marketers come to us and want to discuss programmatic buying in the CTV space, and they want to talk about transparency and what we're doing for anti-fraud, we have a lot to tell them. We have a lot to discuss. In particular, as buyers increase the share of wallet that they dedicate towards programmatic investments, they want to know that the inventory that they're buying is legitimate, that it's a legitimate user, a legitimate device, and that they're getting what they paid for. So one proxy that a lot of buyers use for creating some safety in CTV is one-to-one deals. And while that works reasonably well from an anti-fraud and safety perspective, they don't manage to reap the full rewards of programmatic buying when they buy that way. So the scale and the reach that they can get through programmatic, and the audiences that they can tap into are a little bit harder to reach through one-to-one deals. And so a lot of the conversations we have are around getting buyers the information that they need and the confidence that they need to know that they can buy CTV supply via programmatic pipes in a safe and transparent way.
I'm curious if you could just tell us a bit more about index exchange and what you do, and also how you fit in with the industry, especially when it comes to setting up standards. Could you tell us a bit about what's happening in that respect?
Absolutely. So we're an omni-channel exchange, or an omni-channel SSP, and we do a lot of work on the IAB Tech Lab on a number of working groups there to define standards to make the programmatic CTV space a more well-lit and trustworthy marketplace. We have supply standards of our own that we enforce, of course, where we only work directly with publishers, and we don't buy from resellers. We don't make inventory from resellers available for DSPs on our exchange to buy. We, of course, use standards like app-ads.txt, which is increasingly becoming sort of tailored to the CTV use case, even though it originally came from the mobile app inventory authorization use case. And we've also been pretty heavily involved at the Security Foundation's working group, which is starting to define some cryptographic standards to give buyers irrefutable proof that they're getting what they think they're getting. So, for example, the ads.cert authenticated connections standard has been one that we've worked on to create digital cryptographic signing of impression notifications and other types of server-to-server notifications. There's other up-and-coming standards as well, including authenticated devices and authenticated delivery, all of which are intended to communicate to buyers where the inventory originated, with, again, a cryptographic signature, so that they can have a mathematical guarantee around where that supply came from, and that nothing has changed in flight. So from the moment that a seller originated an impression opportunity and it traversed the ad tech supply chain, that no one has altered it or misrepresented the supply in flight. And so all of that creates more confidence for buyers that they're actually getting what they paid for.
Now, finally, Rob, I just wanted to ask you a bit about what you see happening, let's say, in the next, 6 to 12 months. When I talk to cybersecurity professionals, they say, you always have to be vigilant about ad fraud, because they're always coming up with new ways to try to, defraud advertisers. Is there anything you expect to see happening either with the standards or industry initiatives? Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
I don't know about keeping me up at night. What I'd say is, actually, I'm really heartened by seeing the industry response to this idea of making programmatic CTV pipes safe. There's been a lot of collaboration with a bunch of industry names, big names in the industry that you would know, who sit on the Security Foundation's working group. Folks are really working together to realize the potential of programmatic. So in the next 6 months or so, I expect that folks will continue doing that some of the new standards that we are defining will actually come to fruition and become finalized specs that media owners and publishers can start to adopt, and similarly that will harden the ad tech supply chain against a number of fraud vectors. Of course, fraudsters will come up with new ways to defraud buyers, But by using some of these modern cryptographic techniques, we're making it harder and harder for them. And the less feasible it becomes, and the less profitable it becomes for fraudsters, because they really need to start to put in a lot of work, the less of a concern fraud will be. And I think the more buyers will see that programmatic is a safe space for them to achieve really great results for their media investment.